Did you hear there's been recent reports that Kurt Cobain was actually murdered? No, actually, I heard that, but I heard that years ago. Recently, though, I've been researching Lead Belly. Do you know who that is? Scottsboro Boys. In 1938, Mr. Belly wrote a song called Scottsboro Boys. But it was the first time in recorded history that the phrase, stay woke, was said. So essentially what happened in 1931 is that these 9 boys were traveling on a train through Alabama, and so were a couple of white men and a couple of white women. And a scuffle broke out, but Victoria Price and Ruby Bates specifically lied to the police, saying that the boys had raped them, and that was so that way they themselves could get out of getting arrested, because it was illegal at that time for women to be hanging out with that many men without a chaperone or a reason. It was immoral. The boys had a jury that was just all white, and it was pretty much a unanimous decision that they would be sentenced to death. 1933, Ruby decided to say, hey, I lied. And even after multiple retries, the boys just kept being convicted. Like Alabama itself kept convicting these boys over and over and over again. They all pretty much sat in prison until they passed away, right? Except for one boy, Clarence Norris, who was not fully pardoned until 1976. Can you see why Lead Belly would have written a song talking about this now? So at the end of his song, it is recorded, and I quote, I advise everybody be a little careful when they go along through there. Best stay woke, keep your eyes open. Now, I am a history girly, I am a book girly, and I love me some Malcolm X. So if you've ever heard that phrase, stay woke, but in recent times, just know that that is so far removed from its original meaning that it's around the corner, 2 blocks down, sitting in the trailer park, so far removed. You get what I'm saying? The ideology of stay woke that is used nowadays is not stay woke. Stay woke used to mean stay vigilant, stay aware of your surroundings, stay mindful that the government and the powers that be are, and still are, rooted in systemic racism and ideologies that are only going to support one version of the man and not all versions of men and women that walk this earth. To go even deeper, we need to talk about a couple things. During Mr. Belly's time, there would have been a couple things known as redlining, which still exists to this day. Fight your mama, not me. There would have also been sundown towns and sun-up towns. So we're talking about a situation where another group of kids were falsely accused of a crime that they did not commit just because a white lady had a hair up her ass one day. You get what I'm saying? So on top of that, he was essentially trying to use his music to send the message of, hey, my children, stay woke, stay vigilant, stay aware. Your government does not genuinely like you like that. Like they don't actually like you, home slice. They're going to lie to you, and they're going to fill it with a bunch of pretty things like redlining, which is move to this cookie-cutter little city instead and pay to the taxes. And, oh, yes, it's a nice house, but it's actually overpriced, and it's actually like a really crappy neighborhood, and we're just putting you there because we want your money and your taxes to help our economy locally, but we don't actually want you in those stores that you're assisting by living here. Look into redlining if you don't know what it is. But speaking of the 30s, like this is what we're talking about. We're talking about a time in which propaganda was being used to get people out and off of the farm and into the big city, because there was just a new version of how can we force people into our little cookie cutter system and blah, blah. You get what I'm saying? Like it wasn't a good thing. So essentially think of it as, oh yeah, we're selling you a piece of land in this house and it's going to be on poisoned land with bad water and bad soil and good luck. But you're not allowed to use our mailman, and you're not allowed to go in our stores, and you're not allowed to be around our people or in our churches or just like be seen. We don't want to see you. So stay in your little communities like that are toxic and poison, because we made sure it was like that before we gave it to you. Like that's what happened. Now let's fast forward to Malcolm X's time, right? So this is barely 20 years later. Barely 20 years later. You get what I'm saying? Mr. Belly's song was recorded in 1938. The crime that supposedly happened was 1931. It didn't happen, by the way. Didn't happen. Okay? Hence the whole stay woke, stay vigilant, because these people be lying on your name. Let's also not forget that during Mr. Lead Belly's time, there was still a version of what we should call slave catchers that were still lynching. The Klan, still a thing. still a thing, still like rampant. You get what I'm saying? Before you tell me I'm lying, I got family that ran moonshine and they ran out that bitch. You get what I'm saying? Like they ran out that bitch because they didn't want to be associated with you weird motherfuckers. Now walking into the 40s, you have things like what they call the Great Migration. Again, redlining, promises to nonsense. They were never telling the truth. You know what I mean? It just wasn't true. It was just another version of landlords with astronomical rent and invisible debt that you didn't know you were signing up for because you were promised a bunch of nonsense you were actually lied to. Girl, and don't get me started about them banks. Let's talk about redlining again. Who did the government use to bail them out in the 1920s? During the Great Depression, Homeowners Loan Corporation and the Federal Housing Administration decided to specifically target people. Come move here. Great opportunities. Great land. It's totally clean. You could totally live off of it. Yeah, go ahead, plant your garden. But, don't plant your garden. It's also poison soil and bad water. The HOLC created a specific map, color-coded map, where they would outline the black neighborhoods in red, where you could buy your property in your cookie cutter look, here's your house. It's not going to crumble in a couple of years. The foundation's not bad. It's not the worst build grade that we've ever made. Move here. Bail us out of economic debt. But then there was the GI Bill betrayal that happened in the 40s and 50s too, bro. Hold on, your girl had to get some notes because we about to get historical in this beach. Do you know about the Tuskegee Airmen? I do. Do you know about the 6888? Did you know it was actually illegal that all those women that served in World War II, that they couldn't come home and eat in the same cafes as the wives that those letters were made sure that they got to? Yeah, I made sure your husband got to your letter, but sure, Becky, it's okay. I don't want to eat with you anyway. The government pushed them out of the GI Bill. Yeah, no, the Tuskegee Airmen and the 6888, yeah, there was no parades, there was no celebration, they weren't honored. Not until way later, girl! Way later! And they played a pivotal role. Specifically! But now you don't get a GI Bill or any of the benefits when you come home. Because of your race, just because we're racist. We don't want you to know. Now, during the Great Migration, oral tradition was alive and well. And these stories were being told. And that was a bad thing for the 60s. They did not like that. My bad, your girl got off on a tangent, had to take a break. There was a psychological exodus happening in the 50s and the 60s that our government was highly against. They were like, you cannot think for yourself. Critical thinking, no, stop. Please stop. I don't like that. And then Vietnam War came out, and they were like, please stop telling us you don't want to go over there for us, man. Stop telling people the truth. Stop. So when the 60s in Vietnam rolled around, the early talks of Vietnam, and Malcolm X's teachings were loud for many people to hear. The government did not like that. They didn't like that someone was reminding the people of hey, they signed up for Jewish relations that don't actually benefit us. Do you know how much money we're sending over there? Also, by the way, racism is bad. XYZ, this is what they're doing. This is propaganda. So when he started speaking truth, they were like, no! And then he reminded them what they did after World War II. So now that we've had a little history lesson, the same people that are telling you that Kurt Cobain was murdered are the same ones that lied to you in all those instances. Yeah. And let's also not forget who inspired Kurt Cobain. Peace, love.